I'm Vanu Deschetti, Sales and Marketing Director at Aplusify. We are pleased to bring to you educational webinars like this for you. We love to share what we've learned and what we know while we're learning something from you along the line. Before we start today's webinar, here are some quick housekeeping notes. This webinar will be recorded, so everyone will be muted. We encourage you to ask questions, though, as we go along. Just enter it in the chat section or in the Q&A part of this webinar. We will get to your questions as soon as we can. Rest assured that we will definitely have some time at the end for Q&A. We will share this recording along with some additional resources for you to help you with your release. Okay, let's get started. Neeraj Garg is our speaker today. As our COO, he leads a team of 200 developers with various levels of Salesforce certifications. I call it our internal task force, Salesforce task force. They get together and they share lessons learned and best practices that are shared and applied across our portfolio of nonprofits and associations. So rest assured today, you'll be hearing a lot of information that's relevant to specifically to nonprofits and associations. In this webinar, Neeraj will be reviewing a few items: better user engagement, UI enhancements, personalized guidance during Salesforce setup, enhanced customer experience and engagement channel monitoring, lightning scheduler, improved security and identity in Salesforce, and the power of Tableau CRM, which was formerly Einstein Analytics. Now, I know that's a lot, but we are in great hands today. Neeraj is an expert at all things Salesforce, so he will definitely have a lot of things to share for us. Neeraj, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you so much for the introduction, Veenu. And for everyone in this webinar, very happy New Year to you all, because this is the first time we are interacting. And hope this new year is a healthy new year for you. So I think in this webinar, we will be discussing about Spring 21 release for Salesforce. And as we all know that every Salesforce release that is there, that brings in a lot of load of features in it, right? Which is for the administrators, for the users, and obviously for the techie guys. So what we have tried to do in this webinar is summarize the top 5 or 6 or 7 features that we think would be beneficial to everyone, and it's easy to understand, and everyone can have a different list altogether, and maybe we can have more such webinars where we can target more features of this release. But in this webinar, we have just picked top 6 or 7 which we think are very beneficial for you, for either you are a Salesforce user or a techie guy, or you are a Salesforce administrator. I think it's going to help you out.
And Neeraj, before you dive in too deep into the presentation, I did launch a poll. I forgot to mention that before you began. It helps us guide the conversation today if we know who's in the room and what you're interested in. So take a few seconds to fill out this poll and let us know who's in the room. And Neeraj, and I'll keep this up for a little bit while Neeraj begins, but this will definitely help us with the conversation today. And just again, a reminder, feel free to ask questions. We want this conversation to be definitely engaging and interactive.
Sure. I think let's start. And as I think, like Veenu already pointed out, what we are going to actually cover in this webinar. As I told you, every Salesforce release comes with a lot of features, and the features are divided into various categories, right? So you have features pertaining to user engagement. Then there are a lot of UI enhancement stuff where it is more like look and feel of screens, of reports and dashboards. Then you have features for enhancing your customer experience. You have features related to security, obviously, which is very important. Then you have features related to your scheduling of meetings, performance. So with Spring 21, right, we have come up with all these features, and we have got features in in-app launcher where you have a guidance editor where you can actually go and uh, search for your topic. So if you are a Salesforce administrator, they will actually give you a poll of what you are looking for, what resources do you want, and you can just select those resources and set up your stuff. So maybe if you are setting up a Salesforce Service Cloud and you are an administrator and you are facing problems in setting it up, you can go to the in-app launchers, go to the guides, search for the adequate resources, and you will get all that help in it. Then we have uh, Einstein Analytics, which I think you are using in your previous releases as well. But now it is actually called Tableau CRM, right? So what Tableau is doing is bringing the BI capabilities along with the artificial intelligence that was there in Einstein Analytics. I don't know how many of you have been using this opportunity marker, where actually you can rate your opportunities by running Einstein Analytics. So Einstein Analytics used to give you a score of 1 to 99, depending on the strength of your opportunity. So 1 is the lowest score and 99 is the highest score. And based on its analysis, the calls your sales team has done, the conversations they had, it used to analyze everything and give a score, so that you know, like, what are the strong opportunities in your opportunity box, what are the weak opportunities, what you need to work on, what you need to tell your sales team. So they have got Tableau CRM now, where you can actually build some business intelligence as well into your logic. Then you have Lightning Scheduler, where they have given a feature of a default time zone. So you can actually go to the default time zone, set a default time zone, so that every user sees the same default time zone that has been set. It's not just the time zone that the scheduler has set, it's the default time zone. Maybe it can be a EST time zone or PST, whatever it you want to do it. So there are a lot of features like this, and moving forward, what we have done is picked out the first 6 or 7 features we think are related to performance or reporting, and elaborated more on that, on how we can actually use it. So I think let's move forward in the further slides and we can pick feature by feature. So we would be covering these 6 things, or the 6 Spring 21 updates that we think are uh, very interesting and are easy to understand. And I think that actually makes a lot of sense to use them, because they're very easy to use. So we would be covering dashboard URLs. We would be covering how the reports have got enhanced and their filters can be used to produce various reports. We can talk about the Zoom integration in the meetings that can be set. And then we would go to the performance stuff, which is more about Lightning Pages, and then to security stuff, which is the login metrics. So let's pick them one by one so that you can understand them and get a feel of them. Now with the Spring 21, what has happened is that they have given a feature called filtered dashboard URL. Now, as you can see in the screen, what happens is when you go to the dashboard, right, you pick up a lot of filters, and in this screen you can see just 2, but there may be many more that you filter out and produce reports for your team, for your management. And every time you log in, you will have to select the same filters again and again, right, to produce the same kind of report. Now, what Salesforce has done is they have given the feature of selecting this dashboard URL. So in this screen, as you can see, we have got two filters. So what a user wants to do is get a list of all the opportunity stages, right? Which may be in a particular stage and which actually belongs to a particular account name, right? Now, you may want to select stage as closed and account name to something else. And every time you want this report or you want to circulate it to the team. So what you can do is uh, you can actually select these filters, right? And as soon as you select these filters, I will move you to the second screen, which actually elaborates it more. Right. So as you see, right, what we have done is we have selected stage, which is equals closed one, account name equals Acme, right? And now if you see the URL bar, right, what it has done is it has got a URL, which or an address, which says FV0 is equal to closed, which means filter value 0 is the filter value 1, right? So that is closed, and the filter value 1 is equal to Acme. Now, as a user, right, what you can do is you can just copy this whole URL or this address, right, and save it for future use. So as soon as you select these two parameters, the URL looks something like this. You already have added a filter parameter. Now you can actually copy this URL and paste it somewhere. And maybe you can circulate this URL or share it with your team so that they will have the same view as you are seeing by seeing these filters. So what this URL is doing is actually this URL is a kind of report with some filters onto it. And every time you paste this URL, you will get the same results and you don't have to select the filters again and again, right? So this was something that was not present before. And for every filter, you will have a separate URL onto it, right? So what will happen is these filter values, as you can see, FV0, FV1, if you have more filters, it would have FV2, FV3, FV4, something like that, right? So every URL is actually a report that you can generate by just copying and pasting it into the browser, right? So what it does is it actually saves you time from selecting the same parameters again and again, and you can share the same view either to your management or to your team, and they will exactly be looking at the same report. So this is something I think a lot of users have been waiting for, and we think it is an excellent opportunity for everyone who is pulling out a report to just save this URL and get it pasted and treat it as a separate report.
So Neeraj, before you move on, can you talk about a couple of practical use case scenarios where this would make sense? One thing that comes to my mind is, would this be a good opportunity to create a dashboard for a team that sells trade show exhibit space? And then you filter it down by each salesperson and then create those URLs for each different person based on, is that the kind of application that we're looking at here?
Sure, that's absolutely true. So we can actually, like I said, like we can have any amount of filters that you want to do. So if you want to, if you are visiting a trade show and you want to filter down based on the salesperson or maybe the booth or anything, you can just select those filters and just copy that filter value along with the URL and just share it with anyone you want to who wants to have the same view as you are having to see it. So I think this is, and it can have n number of scenarios. It can be applicable to members of an association where they want to see a list where the membership is expiring. So they say that membership expiring at this date or greater than this date. So they will just have a report where you just put on these filters and just paste the URL in your browser, and you will have a report where they say that these are all the members whose expiry date is this, or whose membership is expiring on this date. There
So
can be a number of use cases for it. So,
like member,
yeah,
non-member, and then maybe even for nonprofits, it could be a threshold of high giving donors, high wealth donors versus subscription type donors, right? So it can really a lot of applications. We do have a question here. Can this be used with existing dashboards, or will it require creating a new one?
No, I think it can be used with the existing dashboards, right? Because if you have got the Spring 21 release updated on your Salesforce org, this feature would be available for your existing dashboards as well.
Great, thank you. To our guests that are attending today, if you have a dashboard that you think that you're really proud of, that you think you would like to filter and use this application, I'd love to hear about it in the chat. If you'd like to just describe how you plan on using this feature, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Neeraj, now
And
you
I think,
have, what do you have next for us?
Yeah. So moving on, again, this is something which is, I would suggest a boon for all the people who are actually pulling in reports, because the first feature was about the dashboard filters. This is more about building a report on the fly. So as you can see in the screen, right, you have on the left-hand side all these fields that you want to display in the report. So with Spring 21, what has happened is you can just select the fields. So as you can see here, number one, they have selected 3 fields. They are highlighted. You just need to select them, drag them, and drop it into the columns bar here, right? So what it will do is it will add these columns in the reports. You don't have to just do them one by one. You can select multiple columns, just drag them. And if you can see further right side, you can preview the reports as you add these columns into it, right? So the Lightning Report Builder that is there in the Spring 21, that eases your life by selecting all the columns, or whatever columns you want to just get rid of, you can just drag it and drop it back. So you can just add and remove fields and columns on the fly, and you can preview the reports as well and how the reports look like, right? But as an administrator or as a techie guy, what we propose is that if you have a lot of data into your reports, or if you have a lot of columns, there is an update preview automatically toggle box, right, or a checkbox out here, right? What we recommend is just putting it off if you are basically working on a bulk report which has a lot of columns or a lot of data, because that might impact performance. Though Salesforce says that it does not affect a lot of it does not have a lot of effect on the performance, and you can keep that on. But for better performance, we actually recommend that if you can disable this feature, and it should be used for reports which are smaller in size and which have a less number of columns. So a great boon for all the report lovers who are actually building in the reports. They can create the reports on the fly by just adding and removing the columns they want, and they can get a runtime view of how their reports will look like we saw on the screenshot here, right? So you keep on adding columns, and you would preview how it looks like in the right hand side. So this is something great that has come up in Spring 21 release, and we have tried that in a lot of orgs for our clients, and it works perfectly fine with minimum amount of time and minimum amount of energy required.
And I think we've had some private chats going on here as well. And I think that one of the comments is that it's making a big difference, and it's just a time saver. You're not having to toggle back and forth between Classic and Lightning, which I know I'm guilty of going back and forth to get it to where I need. So it's nice to see this enhancement. Neeraj, before you go on to the next slide, we have a question that I want to ask about dashboards before we get too far from it. And the question is, if you send the dashboard link to the filtered dashboard link to someone, do they need permission to see the dashboard?
Yeah, they would need permission to see the dashboard, because that is a security aspect of it. Because otherwise, if you just send a link and he's not authorized to see that dashboard and you're not given that permission, he will not be able to do it. And that makes absolute sense, because otherwise what will happen is anyone else passes on that link to someone else who is not authorized, and he can also see the dashboard. So obviously you need to give the permission to that user. But what it does is it just allows that user to see the same view that you are seeing in the dashboard. So he does not have to put the extra filters again and ask you like what filters did you add to see that results. He will have the same results as you are viewing, but you need to give the permissions to him.
Okay, what's next? So far, so good.
Yeah. Now I think this was something which I think everyone who is doing this case management in Salesforce or case escalation might have faced. Now, before Spring 21, whenever you were actually sending a mail uh, for any case related notification, right? The email used to go from no reply at salesforce.com, and I think many people might have seen that. And we often receive emails, right, which says no reply at salesforce.com, which is nice, okay, but it organizations which are actually handling, they want their own customization onto it, and they wanted that they should have their own organization name to it. So with Spring 21, right, what Salesforce has done is instead of no reply at salesforce.com, you can actually go to the settings, right? As you can see the steps, you have to go to the settings, turn on the send case notification from system address, right? And instead of a no reply address, you can actually configure your organization address into it. So it can be uh, or whatever your organization or domain name is. And the email would actually go from that email ID, right? And that makes sense because when you are handling the cases and you receive a mail from an organization instead of no reply at salesforce.com, that is actually a comfort level for the customers as well, to whom you are actually fixing in the cases, and they get that comfort factor that it's not something from the Salesforce, it's something from the organizations that we are working with who has addressed our problem. So I think it's a big uh, boon to everyone who is actually using maybe Service Cloud or doing any case related notification uh, for any organization for their clients. So these are the steps that you have to do. Uh, Go to the quick find set box, go to setup, turn on the send case notification from system address, configure and verify a default no reply address for your organization. So it can be no reply at maybe techdata.com or maybe uh, any other organization that you have. So it can be from your organization, and then uh, enable the test run and start. So whenever you do this activity, make sure that you are doing it in the sandbox environment and not in the production box directly, because your production boxes may have your real email ID. So it's always good to do a test run in your sandbox and test it out with some sample IDs, and then move these things to production. So you can test it out on the sandbox environment and then roll it out down the same to the production or the live organization. So I think it's pretty easy. These steps are there, and if you think you are not able to replicate it, it's always good to ask the administrator who is managing your Salesforce org. He can actually let you do that. And in case you don't have a Salesforce admin or something like that, feel free to touch base with us and we can let you know on how to do it. It's pretty simple to do it, 2 or 3 steps, but makes a huge difference in sending the notifications to your client because they come from your organization ID rather than at salesforce.com.
So in other words, don't let your Salesforce administrator trick you. It is simple. Just
Yeah, obviously it's very simple because as you can see these steps, right? They are like 4 or 5 steps that you have to do. You just have to get them, and it's very easy because Salesforce provides a lot of support and help. So if you are not able to find help, go to help.salesforce.com and they will guide you on how to do it.
great.
Now, this next feature that I am going to talk about, I think that is something that you will love because a lot of people are using uh, Zoom meeting links for their client meetings, especially in this virtual world where we are not having a lot of face-to-face interactions, and meetings have become very popular. So I think one of the major platforms that people are doing their meetings or their webinars or anything like that is on Zoom, like we are doing right now. So we didn't had this Zoom meeting feature added in our Salesforce org. So if you have integrated Outlook with Salesforce and you had to send a Zoom meeting invite, you had to first uh, block your calendar and then send a manual Zoom link invite from your ID. Now, with Spring 21, right, what they have done is provided the Zoom meeting feature within your Salesforce org. So there are certain steps that you need to do to get it done. And if you have a Zoom business account or a Zoom account, you can easily send invitations from your Salesforce uh, with Zoom. So I will quickly go to the second slide because that talks more about on how we can do it, and then we can come back to this slide. So these are the steps that you need to do. As usual, you have to go to the setup in the quick find box, right? Uh, Select Zoom video settings. There is something called Zoom video settings there. When you go to that, you have to turn on that Zoom integration, right? It will ask for your business account ID, user and password, and all that kind of stuff. And then go to insert availability. Uh, and as soon as you go into that insert availability option, right, it will actually show you the Zoom option like we see in this screen, right? So when you are creating an event, right, and if you have selected, as you have set up the Zoom setup, it will actually show you this Zoom icon in your video conferencing stuff. And you can actually add your attendees here. And when you send the meeting invite, then it actually automatically sends the Zoom link from this to your different users, right? So it it sounds a bit confusing, but I think once you follow these steps, right, it's quick to use because what you have to do is just go to the Zoom settings, set up your account from which you would be setting the Zoom invite, and as soon as you send the meeting invite, the Zoom link is actually sent along with that meeting invite. You don't have to do that manually, which is a great thing to do, especially in this world when we are heavily relying on either Microsoft Teams or Zoom links or anything like that. So it saves a lot of time and you don't have to do anything manually. So I think this is the biggest meeting feature that has been added in Spring 21, owing to what the world has been going for COVID-19. I think this would ease our life and this would ease the life of your salespersons or anyone who is actually using Zoom accounts for their meetings.
So we got a couple of questions here, Neeraj. Now this integration is specifically how it interfaces with Salesforce, right? It's separate from what Zoom can do with Outlook or Google Mail or Calendar or anything else, right? This is only within the Salesforce instance.
Correct. That is
Okay.
true. It's within the Salesforce instance. Right?
But it works very similar, right? Like I know I have a Zoom plugin built into my Outlook that when I create a calendar invite, it does its magic and creates the link for me and sends it out to whomever I invite. So it kind of works in that same kind of mode, just within Salesforce.
Yes, it works in the same manner. You just have to click the link, set it up, and it creates the Zoom link. And when you send the meeting invite, it actually sends the Zoom URL along with that. So you don't have to do anything extra with it, right? If you want to use Zoom, you have to, like I said, like there will be an option on the video conferencing stuff, Zoom. It's up to you whether you want to use it or you don't want to use it. If you want to use it, you have to just enable that option and send that Zoom URL. If you don't want to, you are free to not use it as well. So this is an option that Salesforce has given in its Spring 21 release. Up to you whether you want to use it or not.
Another question that we received is, will the Zoom integration show who is logged into our meetings after they occur? That's the integration we'd love to see.
Yes, we will. We will actually, so once you send the Zoom URL, right, it will, you have to add attendees to it on whom you want to send the meeting to. So once the URL has gone, it's more of a Zoom meeting that gets into play, and you will have the same feature as there in Zoom. So it's just a matter of including that Zoom link in your Salesforce so that you don't have to do it manually. So it's just an enablement of Zoom in your Salesforce org.
Great. Thank you.
Now, this is something related to performance. So what has, and everyone knows like performance is important for your organization because whatever pages that you have built for your users in Salesforce, no one wants to wait for ages and ages to load it. So what Spring 21 has given is a Lightning Page app page analyzer, right, which actually measures the performance of your page. So, and if you can see in the screenshot, it has got two tabs, desktop and phone, right? So, because obviously Salesforce is mobile compatible, right? So a lot of people will open the pages on phone, a lot of will open on desktop. So it actually gives you a indicator of how your page is actually performing on phone and desktop, right? So if you select the desktop icon, all right, and you open a page, it will actually give you like how much time, like in the screenshot, it's saying that page load time is 3.4 seconds, right? And you can use that to, and if you see at the bottom, which is point number 2, you can actually see how your performance is uh, basically scattered around various Salesforce objects or things, right? So it's more of the technical team to look into on where they need to improve the performance. Like if you can see in the screenshot, it's saying that out of 3.4 seconds, 1.3 seconds are actually being taken by lists, then 387 milliseconds by path, list view. So a developer or the person or your technical team or your administrator can actually assess the performance of each of the pages that he has built in by using this tool. And you can also look at it, right? So if your technical team comes and says that the performance of the page has improved, you can ask them to give you a report which through a page analyzer, which gives you the performance of different pages so that they are not fooling you around. Okay. So you can always go and ask them, please show me the results, how my pages are actually performing on phone and desktop. And this will give you an exact picture of the load time that is required to load a page. So it's more of a performance related stuff, and it eases things for the technical team and for the administrators to look upon it. And as a user also, you can obviously cross-check it along with the team on how the performance of your system is going. So this is something that has been added in the Spring 21, and I find it very exciting because it gives a very clear indicator of how your system is performing or how your pages are performing, and plus gives you a breakdown of where the things are failing, because breakdown and analysis is very important to improve the performance. So I think this is a great feature that has been added in Spring 21. Okay, so this is uh, more about the security feature that has been added. Because if you remember, we have different ways to log in into a system, right? When we talk about security, we say that people log in through single sign-on, people log in through two-factor authentication, or if you have got multi-factor authentication enabled for your users, they log in through that. But how do you know, like, whether if the multi-factor authentication that you have rolled down for your users, users are actually using it, right? There must be some kind of monitoring that needs to be done to see whether users are actually using SSO or whether they are using multi-factor authentication, because that will actually give you a tight control on the security of the system. So Salesforce in the Spring 21 has come up with login metrics where you can actually see like how many people are actually logging into your system through multi-factor authentication, how many people are actually doing logging in through SSO or maybe two-factor authentication, and that will actually help you in gathering whether the security measures that you have implemented for your users, people are actually using it or not. And if they are not using it, you need to find ways on why they are not using it and what best you can do to make them use it. But you can only ensure that once you know the metrics, right? Unless you have got that data and metrics in place, you cannot ensure which users are using it, which users are not using it. So it's more of a security feature and very easy to use. You just have to go to the login metrics and just monitor it. So your administrator can monitor it, pull in reports from your metrics, and then maybe once the reports are pulled, you can just analyze and see like what you can do best to make your system more secure. So over and all, right, we have tried to cover the performance stuff, the security stuff, the usability stuff, which are easy to use, right, and which I think everyone can easily configure in their Salesforce org and use these features because they would be helpful for any organization, whether you are a association, whether you are a non-profit, whether you are a normal enterprise organization. I think it's these features could help you out in your longer run and for your uh, app org to remain secure and perform better. And all these reports and dashboard features, I think they are really great, right? That eases a lot of tasks and you can just use them very smoothly.
Now, that comes to the end of our formal part of the presentation, but if you have any questions, definitely, we've got a few more minutes here before we end. If you have any questions, definitely put it in the chat section. Neeraj is here to help. Anyway, if you have questions about specifically anything that he might have talked about or any other questions about Salesforce, he's happy to answer them if you need it. Now, Neeraj, there are, with the release, as with any releases that Salesforce puts out, there's so many that's in here. And I take it that the reason that you presented today were these are the top ones that if you, the easy and fast release updates that you can do, that you can get the most bang out of doing that release. Is that the case?
Yes, that is the case because if you talk about release features, there it's a long documentation, right? And features are specifically for technical stuff. They may have some technical issues which you might not be interested in, but your technical staff might be interested in. So it's up to you. And I think it's more about understanding what usability features, what performance features, what security features have been released. Because if you know them, you can go back to your technical team, to your Salesforce administrator, and ask these kind of questions, right? and its release notes are already available. And I think on 8th and 9th of Jan, these features are already available in your org. It depends on you how you want to upgrade them. But for us, we thought that these are the few 6 or 7 features that will impact all the users, whether you're an administrator or a simple user or as a part of the technical team. But there may be many, and maybe in our future webinars, we can address more of them from the other side of the fence. Maybe we can target the flows and the technical flows and maybe schedulers, right? How they benefit and how they don't benefit. But this was more of, I think, our top 6.
Well, thank you very much, Neeraj. It doesn't seem like we have any more questions for today, but that doesn't mean that you won't have questions later, whether it's after you have had your afternoon coffee or tea, and you think, well, what about this and what about that? You can definitely reach out to us. We've got our contact slide up. Feel free to contact us at any time with any questions. We're happy to help you out. Also, I wanted to share with you, we have a rather robust library of our different webinars. Check them out, live webinars that are coming up, and also webinars we've conducted in the past, ranging from specific topics as to what you might want to build in your membership dashboard, how to keep your data clean, reporting, data fishing, you name it, it's there. Continue to keep an eye out for that, and feel free to check them out. Again, thank you for joining us. We've enjoyed having you. Bundle up and stay warm, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Thank you.